Hey, what is up everyone? In this video, I'm going to give you a detailed walkthrough of the escape room on Vulnlab. This is a super unique machine. It begins with us bypassing a misconfigured RDP server. From there, we get access to a kiosk, all in Korean, so that was a lot of fun. We have to escape the kiosk, get to the file system, enumerate around, eventually elevate our privileges to then get the final flag. This was one of the most creative and just unique machines that I've done, and honestly, I was stuck on it for quite some time when I was working through it on my live stream. But hey, in this video, I will, instead of stumbling around, do my best to teach through the material. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, the one thing I've already done is I've added it to my etc host file so I can ping escape.vl, but let's begin with some enumeration. Now, you can use nmap. I like to use rustscan just because the syntax is easy to remember, but nmap will do the same exact thing. But let's go ahead and do rustscan. We'll do rustscan-a. I'm going to do escape.vl, and then I'm going to pass any open ports over to nmap. I'll explain real quickly what this is doing. First, it's going to hit escape.vl with rustscan, and it's going to find every single open port. And then it's going to say, hey, any open port that you find, I want you to pass that port over to nmap, and on nmap, I want you to run the -A flag against that open port. Now, if you know your nmap flags, -A means, hey, I want you to throw all the enumeration scripts at any of these open ports, and let's see what is running on them. Now, this takes just a minute or so to run, so through the magic of video editing, I will meet you over when it is done. All right, I actually got sick of waiting myself. I know on this machine, only RDP is open on port 3389, so I just manually scan that port nmap with the -A flag. And this is the first thing that makes this machine unique, is I've never done a machine where only port 3389 or RDP or remote desktop protocol is open. And we get a little bit of information from this, but let's go ahead and set up our notes and then we will dive into it. So I like to use Notion for my notes. You can use whatever note-taking tool that you want to use. I think it's less important which tool you use, and just more important that you're in the habit of taking good notes as you work through machines. Let's go and do an H1, and we will call this enumeration, and we'll do an H2, and this will be our nmap scan. We'll make a code block real quick and grab just the results right here. Copy that, go over to our code block and paste it in. So from here, we see a few things. We know that our target name or host name is going to be escape that we're trying to access. And honestly, that's about it. We have some version information here, but because it is RDP and that's the only thing that's open, one of the things you need to do is research how does RDP work and what are some potential misconfigurations with RDP. So if we jump over to our browser here, I have it pulled up here, but if you look at the Microsoft documentation for enabling remote desktop on your PC, you can read through this, but there's kind of a key thing here as we scroll through, and it is this. I'll zoom in so you can see it. Why allow connections only with network level authentication? If you want to restrict who can access your PC, choose to allow access only with network level authentication. When you enable this option, users have to authenticate themselves to the network before they can connect to the PC. Allowing connections only from computers running remote desktop with NLA is a more secure authentication method that can help protect your computer from malicious users and software. To learn more about NLA and remote desktop, check out configure NLA blah blah. So here is the thing that you eventually discover as you dig around on port 3389 is network level authentication is actually enabled, but it's not required or enforced. So you can bypass the NLA just by connecting with a tool like XFreeRDP and not using NLA or network level authentication, so we can get at least to the main login screen on the Windows RDP computer. Now, I'm not really sure why, but you can't do this with Remina, even though in Remina there is an option to do this, but I could not get it to work. So if those of you who are watching are able to do this machine and you're able to do it with Remina, please let me know, because that's the tool I prefer to use. But I discovered as we are working through this, you have to use XFreeRDP in order to connect. So let me go ahead and show you the syntax for that. We can do XFreeRDP, which if you're using Kali Linux, it should be built into your distro. And we need to specify our server right here, and this is escape.vl. And now we need to say, hey, I want you to connect without network level authentication. This means disable network level authentication. We'll go ahead and do dynamic resolution just so it looks a little bit prettier than a small little screen on our machine. And we want to enable the clipboard so we can copy and paste back and forth from our host machine to our RDP connection. We will go ahead and hit enter. And from here it says, hey, do you trust the certificate? Yes, YOLO, we trust it. That's what the Y stands for, is clearly YOLO. But you can see it'll take just a second, it will open up, and we can go ahead and grab this for our notes right here. And you can see we're given some information. Login as kiosk user 0 without password, but let's grab a screenshot of this. I like to use Flameshot when I'm taking notes, both for pen test and for CTFs, and we'll grab a screenshot of this, and we have our command up here. And we have a user information right there. So we'll copy that, jump back over to our notes, and we will drop this in here, and we'll just say RDP, and that's what we're enumerating right now. We have the connection, and we'll drop that there, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because we don't need it that big, and we'll align it over to the left so it looks a little bit nicer. Now let's jump back over to this machine. We will hit that, and that's the other surprise you're going to run into. Everything on this machine is in Korean. Now, you can try to update the language. I think I did in my first live stream when I was doing this, but then I just gave up and we did it all in Korean because it's more fun that way and more confusing, which makes it a little more fun when you're diving into it. It'll take just a second to load, but once it fully logs in, we should be able to get access to this machine. All right, took just a second. We now have it launched right here. We can make it full screen if we want, and because we added the dynamic resolution, it will automatically open it up. But you can see we are in kiosk mode here in Windows, which means we're very limited on what we can do. But if we do Windows R on our keyboard, and this happened when I was doing the live stream as well. This might be something weird with my computer, but Windows R doesn't work half of the time. So like I'm doing it right now. I know you guys can't see my keyboard, but I assure you I am hitting Windows R right now and it's not doing anything. Oh, there it was. So if you have that issue when you're going through it too, welcome to the club. I don't know why it does this. Like maybe I need to hold it. All right, let's see if I can get, oh, there we got that pulled up. There we go. All right. So instead of Windows R, it looks like it just works if you just use the Windows key. I'm going to try that again. If we just use the Windows key, now you can explore this. I tried using Microsoft Paint to escape the file system, but the one thing that is built into this is a web browser, namely Microsoft Edge. So if you hit your Windows key on your keyboard and then just start typing Edge, it should pull it up right here and we can open up Microsoft Edge. Of course, once again, all in Korean. We will sit no. I think that means no, I don't want to sign in. This means sure, sign me up or something or send my data. I don't have any idea what it says. But here we are in the web browser. And anytime you have access to a web browser, you can generally access the file system. So we can do that if we go up here. We can do C like so. We'll do Windows. And there we go. We have access to the file system. We can go up a directory here. And we can go over to users. We are the kiosk user 0. Go over to desktop. And from here, you can download the user flag and input the user flag to get the first flag. But that is how you get the first flag. Now, I know I just showed you how to do that quickly. But when I did this on live stream, going into it blindly, this probably took me a good, I don't know, 45 minutes even to get to this point. There's a lot of kind of rabbit holes you can fall into. Some of what I did is I tried to explore the file system using like Microsoft Paint. So I opened Paint, went File, Save As, and tried to explore it that way and was unsuccessful. But eventually I stumbled my way over a web browser. So kind of a note to me and a note to you, if you're ever trying to escape a kiosk, hit the Windows key and see if there's a web browser built in, because from the web browser, we can escape the files or the file system that we are restricted to. But here we have the user flag. Now from here, we need to do some enumeration. So if we back out, it's always helpful to look to see if there's any other users. So we'll back out again, and we have these other users, but we don't have access to most of them. So if we click admin, we don't have access. Administrator, we don't have access. All users, we do have access, but there's nothing too interesting in here. We have the EC2 config for AWS, but that's of course out of scope for this room. But as we dive in, there's nothing too interesting here. We can go to default, same thing here. I dug into some of this and there's nothing too interesting here for us. I fell into a few rabbit holes looking at application data and trying to figure things out. And even on our kiosk user 0 here as well, there's not a whole lot that is useful to us. I thought maybe we could look at cookies, maybe we can decrypt a cookie or something along those lines. I tried looking at local and looking at some of these files, but nothing there was helpful for me either. But just wanted to be honest with you, when I did this live, I spent a lot of time enumerating these aspects of the file system, and I think that's just good enumeration. When you get access, begin with the user folders, look for app data, look for anything that might be configured there. But from there, I backed out. and backed out again. And here on the root of the file system, there's one folder that stood out to me right away, and that's this _admin folder. And if we click that folder, we have a few different things that might be helpful. We have some installers, we have passwords, temp, some RDP connection, and profiles.xml. If we click into installers, we don't have anything there. If we click into passwords, we don't have anything there. If we click into temp, we don't have anything there. Default RDP is 0 bytes, but let's see what the heck profiles.xml is. We can click that and we have some information here. It says remote desktop plus. We have a profile name of admin, a username of localhost, which is a little bit odd, and then we have what appears to be some type of encrypted password. Well, let's go ahead and grab a picture of this as well for our notes. We'll go this. We'll be sure to get the URL up here so we know the path of the file, and we will do Control-C. We'll jump over to our notes, and maybe if I click the right one, whoops, here we go, and we will say like discovered encrypted RDP password. And we'll drop a screenshot in there. Once again, our screenshot does not need to be this large. We'll go like that, and we'll jump it over to here. Now, we know if we jump back over to this, this is for some type of remote desktop protocol, and specifically it's remote desktop plus. So let's go ahead and check out remote desktop plus and figure out what the heck it is. So we'll just type remote desktop plus, and let's read about it. We have this page right here. Click and load into it, and it says Remote Desktop Plus allows you to launch a remote desktop session using the username and password entered from the command line or imported from a saved credential profile. And that's exactly what we just discovered. It also features a unique kiosk mode, which, together with all the available command line parameters, enables you to easily provide access to remote desktop sessions to third parties or end users. And it says, but that's not all. They have some more information here. We have some security stuff here. Passwords entered from the command line can be encrypted for enhanced security, and we discovered an encrypted password. Here is what it looks like, and it shows some of the features we might have access to. But now we need to figure out, how can we launch Remote Desktop Plus? So we need to continue to explore the file system and see what access we might have. Let's go back over to here, and if you know Windows, you know that programs are often stored in places like program files. And when we look through here, there is nothing super interesting, so let's back out. Let's check out program files x86. And in here, we find a folder called, well, Remote Desktop Plus. We can click into Remote Desktop Plus, and we have an rdp.exe. So that seems like a good option. Let's click that and see if we can download it. And we don't know what this says. I'm going to hope this one says keep. I have a 50% chance of getting it wrong, but hey, it looks like it kept it. Now, I notice even for these smaller files on this machine, it takes a little bit to download. I have no idea why. I'm sure there's a reason behind it, but it's going to take a little bit to download. In the meantime, we can go ahead and open up the folder, and we'll see if that does it for us. Maybe it won't. Open. Okay, nope, oh, there it is. It did open up the folder. Beautiful. So we have the folder right here. So let's go ahead and open up RDP and see what happens. And you can see we get an error message in Korean that probably says, yo, you can't be doing that. Quit trying to hack me. I'm pretty sure that's a proper translation of the Korean language right there. So what can we do? Well, knowing that this is in kiosk mode, one thing to check for is we don't know how it's running Microsoft Edge. It could just have a allow list or whitelist that says, hey, if the program equals MS Edge, go ahead and run it. So let's try that. What if we rename this, which you can't right click and rename it, but if you highlight it and then click F2 on your keyboard, you can rename it. So we'll do that. And let's just change it to MS Edge. And now, can we load it? Takes a second, but hey, it didn't error out right away, so that's always a positive sign. Is it going to catch us? Is it going to open? Nobody knows. There we go. So it did successfully open. We have Remote Desktop Plus. We have a spot for profiles. We don't have any profiles in there, but let's go ahead and download that profile that we found. So let's back out to that directory that we're in, admin, and here's the profile. We'll right click that. And I think this right here is download. Okay, beautiful. Yes. I think that's okay, right? Yeah, beautiful. We have profiles downloaded. Now let's go back over to our RDP thing right here, and let's see if we can at least import the profile. We will click Manage Profiles, Import or Export. Let's do Import Profile. and there is profiles right there. So if we click that, click open, it says we successfully imported a profile and we have a password right there. Well, let's go ahead and hit close, and let's grab this profile, admin, and you can see it enters it in here, but we have a password, but it is masked. Now, you could try to go up here and do show encrypted password, but that's just going to show you the actual encrypted password we already have in our profile. So here's where I was stuck at for some time. One of the things I attempted to do is I tried to set up a fake RDP server on my Kali Linux machine, and then I try to connect to my Kali Linux machine from this machine thinking, hey, maybe somehow, some way it will pass the password in clear text. It didn't work, but it was a cool idea, at least in my head. And so I spent a lot of time at this part trying to figure out how can I get this password. And through this process, I think I eventually looked at a walkthrough from my friend Tabo, but I figured out that we can use a program to unmask this password. Now, this is actually a program I hadn't used. I've seen other people mention this program after I solved the machine, but I've never used it, and honestly, I had never heard of it. But it sounds like a lot of people who were in kind of the hacker space in the 90s and early 2000s, this is something they used all the time. But yo, I was not in the hacker space. I think like I was a young kid. I was born in 93, so do the math. I didn't really get into computers until probably about high school. So I was not in the hacker space during that time and never stumbled across this file. But let me show you how we can find this program. If we go over to our web browser, I think if we just Google unmask Windows password, if I could type right, unmask Windows password, we have whatever this thing is. Let me go ahead and open that and see. I think this is actually the one I ended up using. Here we go. So Bullets Pass View is a password recovery tool that reveals a password stored behind the bullets in the standard password text box of a Windows operating system and Internet Explorer web browser. After revealing the passwords, you can easily copy them to a clipboard. So it sounds exactly like the thing that we want. Let's go ahead and figure out how to download it. If we scroll down to the bottom, we have a few different files. So we can download the installer, but we don't want that. We want the zip file. So let's go ahead and download the zip file. And we have Bullets Pass View right there. We'll go over to our terminal, open up a new one. We'll just call this our web server. And let's make a directory for Escape. We'll CD into Escape. And we'll CP from downloads, Bullets Pass View. And we want the zip. I'm going to copy it right here. We can unzip it. And then we have the .exe. Let's go ahead and open a basic Python web server so we can download from there. And there we go. We have our basic Python web server open. Now let's go back over to this and we can go ahead and attempt to download. If we go over to our browser right here, we can just go to my web server, HTTP 10.8.4.163, port 8000. And there we go. We have bulletspassview.exe. Let's go ahead and click that. We'll give it just a second to download. Another way to do this is you can open up a command prompt, and maybe I can show you guys how to do that. But if you download it this way, I notice it takes just a second to download for us. Okay, so it eventually asks us, hey, do we want to download this? And we can click yes. And it has successfully downloaded. But let me show you how we can also do this with PowerShell. Here in our browser, if we go directly to this, C Windows, I think this is the right path. Let me see if it works. And it is. So it's going to download PowerShell.exe. Once again, this takes just a second because of, I don't know, the download time on the kiosk. So we'll give it just a second. All right, that is done. So if we look over here, we have PowerShell.exe. I thought we would have, where did this download to? I thought we download Bullets Pass View, but apparently not. I don't know where the downloads went because I'm not seeing it here. But we do have PowerShell. So remember, in order to launch anything, we have to rename it to MS Edge. So we'll just rename this to RDP again. And now let's change PowerShell with F2 to MS Edge. And we'll see if we can open up PowerShell. And there we go. It worked. I'll see if I can change. Okay, I'm not going to try to change the properties in Korean. You guys will just have to deal with the small text. But we can dir. And now we have access to this terminal with PowerShell. Let's go ahead and download this same file, but via PowerShell. Bulletspassview.exe. We can do wget http 10.8.4.163. My port was 8000, and it's bulletspassview.exe. and -O for output, I believe, bullets pass view.exe. Cross our fingers, hit dir, and there we go. We have bullets pass view.exe downloaded. We can go ahead and close that out. We have bullets pass view. We'll rename this now back to PowerShell. And now bullets pass view, we want to rename that to MS Edge. Everything is MS Edge today. And let's see if we can open up bullets pass view. It's loading. That's a good sign. I believe in it. And do we still have our RDP connection open? I think so, wherever the heck it is at. There, bullets pass view is open. Beautiful. So we have that. Oh, let me make this big. The problem with the kiosk is you can't just like navigate to what you want to navigate to. It's a little bit tricky. Can I move this? All right, there we go. Move that, move that. And now I think if we turn on auto refresh here, we'll see if we can do this. I'm just going to try to connect. It's probably going to fail. Blah, blah. All right, computer not found. That's fine. But we have this password, and that's what we want to get. And I learned when I was doing this, it just takes a little bit of messing around with it. And I think what I ended up doing is on options here, there's a few different things we can do here. We can unmask the password text box. We already have auto refresh on, scanner and explorer, blah, blah, view. Okay, that all looks good. Edit. And I think with this open now, so I don't think I can do anything here. Can I? Yeah, it's not showing me the password here yet. Let's keep bullets pass view open right here, but let's close out remote desktop and let's rename remote desktop to MS Edge, which we need to rename this first to all right, well, apparently bullets pass view is freaking trash. Is there another one we can use? What is this? Okay, an advanced software, blah, blah, easily retrieve complex and gain immediate access. Instant view and hidden passwords from many Windows program FTP client. Let's see what this actually is. Kernel password unmask.exe. Let's go ahead and try it because although from what I can see, everybody else got this to work, it does not work for me. So I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but I don't think I am. This is exactly what I did on stream, but even on stream, you can watch it. I just had to literally sit there, click random crap, and it eventually gave me the password. There was no really rhyme or reason behind it, which is frustrating. Let's copy from downloads, and what was this one called? Kernel password unmask. All right, kernel password unmask to here, and then we'll reopen our Python server, jump back over to our machine here, and do I still have PowerShell? I do. Okay, beautiful. Let's go over to PowerShell. We'll do wget from RIP 10.8.4.163 8000, and I already forgot what it was called. Whoops. It is called kernel password unmask. I'm just going to copy that. And we'll do O for output file and do that. Okay, let's see if this one works any better. We'll go back over to this file right here. We have kernel mask, blah, blah. This is bullet thingy. You suck. That's what we're going to call the bullet thing because it doesn't work, at least not for me. And we'll rename this to MS Edge and see if this opens for us. Fingers crossed that this one works better than bullets pass view and actually grabs the password for us. Open the password window and see the unmasked password. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. So apparently, kernel pass view is where it's at right away and unmask the password for us. That works so much better than bullets pass view. I don't know why it does, but there we go. That one worked immediately. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's grab that and drop it into our notes. We will go here and we'll say unmasking the password. And we got it working there. So I should have just clicked the first Google link instead of bullets pass view, and it would have worked right away for me. But hey, we got to the end goal, and I showed a tool that when I was looking at the other walkthroughs for this room after I solved it, everybody else used bullets pass view. I didn't see anyone use this tool. So look, I was able to showcase something new, so that's at least a win. But we have twisting 3021. But here is the issue. If you try to use X-Free RDP to log in, it is not going to work. I'm not going to demonstrate that here, but you're welcome to try it. You try it, it doesn't work, it errors out, and you're not able to get access that way, likely because of some group policy things that are set up. So instead, what we end up having to do is we need to do a run as, and we need to try to open up a terminal as the other users. Let's go ahead and try this. We can do run as user admin, and let's just try to open up PowerShell. And it's going to ask us for the password. If we jump over to our notes, that is twisting 3021. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. Twisting 3021. And there we go. We are in. When we do who am I, we are escape admin. But here's the thing. If we go over to users and dir and try to go over to like administrator and dir, you can see that we have access is denied. What is going on here? If we do a who am I priv, you can see we don't actually have full administrative access. But we are, once again, the admin user. Who am I? It shows us as admin. If we do net user admin, you can see our admin is in the local group administrators, but what is going on here is user access control. We need to trigger a UAC prompt so that we can then accept it and then truly have administrative rights, and we can actually do that directly from PowerShell. We can do it with this command. We can do start, process, PowerShell, verb, run as. That should trigger a UAC prompt, and there it is. We will say, I'm pretty sure that means yes. And it's going to open up PowerShell again. And now if we do who am I, whoops, priv, we have full administrative access. We can CD over to users, CD to administrator, CD to desktop, dir, and then to get the final flag, you just type root.txt. But I'm not going to show you the flag. I've showed you all the work that you need to do to get to users.txt and root.txt, but I encourage you to do this for yourself. But at this point, you can do type root.txt. It will print the final flag to your screen, and together we have successfully compromised a kiosk, all in Korean. From there, we escaped the Kiosk file system by using Microsoft Edge, and we got to the main file system. We enumerated, we found an RDP profile, we then used that other tool. I don't even remember what the tool was called that we just downloaded. I'm gonna pull it up real quick. We used the kernel password unmask because that apparently works a billion times better than bullets past view, but kernel password unmask to unmask the password. We then did it run as the administrator user. We manually prompt a UAC prompt with PowerShell. We accepted it, and then we got full administrative access to the machine. So this machine is a trip. Hopefully, if you followed along, you learned a lot through the process. But hey, thank you so much for taking the time to watch and hang out with me. I will see you in the next one.